Hello, how are
Hello,
you
Kate.
doing?
Good.
Great. It's so good to see you finally. Pascale, I already know you. You're my good friend and you're really inspiring me. But I want you to tell our audience about yourself.
I am a 63 years old woman. I love being a woman. I would never imagine myself in the shoes of a man, and it has always been with me. Being a woman is really having treasure personally. So that's why I introduce myself as a woman. I'm 63 years old. I have 2 adult children. Right now, I'm in the phase of my life where I really want to share everything I learned as a woman, as a mother, going through life, and through many teachers that I've had through the years. I've had many professions. I started out as a theater person, went to medical school. Then I needed to be away from my family, so I went into accounting so I can get a job and leave. I was very young. I finished high school very young, so I was still under 18 when I was able to leave my house because I finally had a job. I moved from France to San Diego in the 80s. From San Diego, I finished my studies in accounting. And then I moved to Europe again for a couple of years. Then I moved to New York.
So you finished your medical school in San Diego?
No, I didn't finish medical school. I went for 2 years. I was very young, and my father always said, you can only leave the house if you have a job. So accounting was the fastest way for me to get a degree and leave my house. I never really enjoyed it. I was good at it, but I never enjoyed it. I changed careers many times because I could not stay in accounting jobs, but it fed me and my children for years. I became a CFO, specialized in real estate development and hospitality. At some point in my life, I also had an art gallery for a little over 10 years. I'm always pushed towards passion. I don't like to stagnate. I do jobs. I'm a CFO. I dress up very professionally. I know how to make believe, but this is not me. I'm not a business person at all. I need to be passionate about what I'm doing. I need to be feeling what I'm doing rather than just doing because it makes money, because it has status. Anything like this doesn't make me happy. I had an art gallery for 10 years, which made me very happy. And then at some point, I realized I don't like to sell the art. I have this connection with the art. When people don't like it, I get offended. So it's not me. I understood at some point that I'm the conduit to help creative people, and most everyone actually, take out their creativity and help them achieve. This is what I found out, and this is what I'm doing right now.
Can you give us a story of how did you become a healer? How did you become a yoga teacher? What happened that it turns you to this direction, not staying in this world of financial
I've always been in that world ever since I'm a little girl. The books I read when I was 14, 15 were books on existentialism, Osho, Kabbalah. In this period of my life, when I was a teenager, a little bit advanced for her age, I always was interested in the mind, the soul, the Dalai Lama, how to be happy.
Is there something was in your life that you needed to learn about?
I was a teenager in the 70s. The world had changed for women. There was freedom in thought, freedom in talks, freedom of everything. Women didn't have freedom. Girls didn't have freedom. Movement after 1968, the hippie movement had just exploded. And I didn't participate in this because I was too young, but I ripped all the benefits of it. Everything that came, that all of a sudden we were super free. And now the world has changed where I think there's more regression, more repression in people's, even younger people, because there's more to see, there's more perfection to achieve. Back then, we didn't need to show anything. We just needed to be free with philosophy. And this is what I was doing. Like we're all doing, watching all those like movies and reading books. When I was 15, I realized, and I looked at myself, and I'm like, you're the most boring person.
How can you say that to yourself?
That's how I felt. Because
But you said you've been free, and what's boring about
boring? It meaning I did not know life. Meaning that I did not know anything.
You didn't have experience.
I didn't have experience. And all I wished for at this time, I regret it now, because now I know that whatever you wish for yourself is happening. I wanted to have all the experiences so I can grow old in terms of wiseness. So I could understand all those books, and I could really feel what those people were feeling, because you read as a young age.
Which book has affected you that way?
Jean-Paul Sartre, for example, Simone de Beauvoir. Both my parents are very artistic. Both my sisters are very creative. My father used to paint, he used to write books. Both my parents are very intellectual, and my older sister is. And maybe I wanted to catch up to all of them. I don't know. So I wanted to experience. I remember very clearly at 15 telling myself, you need to know what's going on. You need to experience life. So then life happens.
You ask too much.
I asked for too much. Now I don't want it.
Now like, give me peace.
I got everything that I asked for. I always did.
So that's why there's a saying,
don't wish what
be careful what you wish for.
Be careful what you wish for. This is, in terms of healing, I still remember myself when I was 2 years old. I have vivid memories of always helping. When I was 2, I was very advanced at school. What they did is that I kindergarten, be with my friends, but then they would take me at 2, 3, because I could read, I could write, I could all of this, with the older kids. And I would go with the older kids, and they would make fun of me because they were 7, 8 years old. They knew less than I did. When the teacher asked what multiplication, I knew. So I shut up. During all those classes, I learned to not say what I knew, because I was afraid to be made fun of. At recess, they would bring me back with the little ones. And because I was in that in between, I was never in the classes here, never here, I became the healer of everyone. I remember sitting in recess, and everybody would come to me, and this one did this to me, and this one, and I would rule who is right and who is wrong. I think I learned compassion then, because I was seeing everything, because I was so remote myself from everything. I was advanced, and my parents did not. My father is very advanced. He finished high school at 14, was a doctor at 21. This part of my family, my uncle was a lawyer also.
So they are geniuses.
It's not genius. It's just an ability, but nothing genius. It's just an intellectual ability. For me, a genius is someone who has the intellect ability and the emotional ability. For me, that's a genius, because everyone has their own things. Everyone has their own capabilities. I was really good at reading and writing and making multiplication table. Doesn't mean I was a genius.
Call it genius.
Okay.
Maybe in France you were mediocre.
I was a mediocre. And I had my whole family is like that. So I was like the mediocre one. Anyways, in terms of healing, that's how it started. And then I realized, as I'm going older, I realized that I feel people. I feel what they feel. I did not know how to put a word on it when I was younger. And it's very difficult, because when you go to a place and you're a young person and you feel before they even word it, then you're like completely like, what's going on? Because you doubt yourself as a kid, as a young person. You say, okay, I'm like crazy. And it always turned out that my intuition was right. So it started like this. And then around me, people had pains and everything. I'm like, oh, hold on. And I did not know, because I never learned it, to put my hands on people to make them feel good. But in fact, what I was doing is that because I wanted them to feel good, I would take all. My intention in my mind was, okay, I'm going to put my hands, and then everything they feel, I'm going to feel instead of them. And that's how this whole journey started. My friends were asking me to do this and remove my headache, but I really never knew what it was until I went to see a healer myself. He was doing things and I was laughing because he was doing what we're doing.
When did you go? How old are you?
I was maybe in early 20s. I don't remember. And he was doing like this. And I giggled because I think it's stupid. It's funny. We were laughing because my mother sent us.
So your parents were also in spirituality and researchers.
Yeah.
So that's very important to growing up in this kind of environment.
Yeah, I grew up. My father is a surgeon, but I think he's some sort of a diagnostic psychic because sometimes I don't know how he can diagnose things from far away. And my mother always was into that thing. I come from North Africa. There's a lot of magic, black magic. She sent me and my aunt because she thought we were a little nuts. So go get yourself healed or balanced. I went and I saw this guy and I was hysterical laughing. But at the same time, I was feeling it physically. And then that's when I really started feeling that maybe this is what I'm doing to other people, because I felt this man physically doing this on me. And then it evolved. And then I learned about it. And then people put labels on it, which I really don't like. People call it now, everybody is a Reiki person. They call it Reiki, but it's actually just intention and energy. And everybody has this ability.
But do you think people have this ability? Do you think we can advance?
I think we all have the ability. We all are human beings. There's nothing special about me compared to you, compared to this other person. It's just being trained in feeling and trusting the feeling. I studied yoga when I was maybe 18 or 19. I bought this book called How to Do Yoga in 28 Days. At the time, there was not so many yoga teachers around. People thought I was the hippie when I'm not a hippie at all. And I'm talking about France. I'm not talking United States. The US was much more advanced. I got friends in the small town of Cannes or even Paris. We smoked cigarettes, drink coffee, and go dancing all night. No one did this kind of things. People didn't do sports in France. So I started yoga with that book. So every day you had a new pose and he was explaining. When you do this kind of things and you go to those teachers and you go for meditation and you go for all of this, it is a training. It's only a precursor of that ability of feeling your own energy field and being able to balance it for yourself or balance it for someone else, for your children or for whoever. People, they go to, and I think it's great because movement is very important to keep our body healthy, the spine healthy, all of this. But the ultimate thing is to really connect with your feelings, not your intellectual feelings, your mind feelings, okay, I have a feeling, I cry, I'm happy, this kind of thing.
So how do you really connect? We need to connect, but how do we actually do it?
It's practice, and it's practice and trust. Meaning if you go to a breath session, a meditation session, you are going to connect at some point if you know how to let go and not judge. So you feel that moment. Sometimes when I teach people to breathe in, breathe out, and connect to the pause at the end of the exhalation. When you feel that, you inhale into the nose, you exhale out of the nose and pause and feel that pause. It's that millisecond of a pause where you feel, and the more you do it, you feel that sensation of peace, of bliss. Everybody has labels, and that's a training. When I teach, for example, we do movements just to connect with the energy, not yoga. You can do sun salutation, kundalini movement, whatever it is, to remove the stale energy. People, they teach also to rub the hands. I know people rub the hands and then you separate and you feel the heat. So that's your energy field. Don't separate too fast. When you separate too fast, you don't have time to feel. It's the same when you do yoga. If you do your yoga pose very quickly, you might be very acrobatic and may do it very well, but you don't have time to really get the benefits and feel that pose.
You inspired me.
Okay, so what you do movement and breath work to remove the stale energy. Just put your hands to the side, palms up. Put your feet on the ground.
Don't cross your legs
because you like
tangle.
What?
Tangle your energy.
You block it. Palms are energy portals. Faith, look at the bird.
Oh. So pretty. I
have red ones and blue. They're very beautiful. They come here, and blue ones, also big blue ones. I don't have many parrots.
This garden, I can already. I'm super connected now, right now. I feel connected.
Most cultures, most faith, they use hands as the symbol of believing, of faith, of power. Everyone, every culture, every tribe knows that hands are very powerful because that's how you grab the energy through the hands. There are portals like the chakras.
I never thought about it.
So if you put your hands to the side after a little bit of movement or breath, and you raise your arms up by inhaling, you feel the weight of the air on your hands all the way up of the air on your hands. Press the palms down. Do you feel the tingling on your palms? Or a little bit of vibration, warmth?
Of course.
Okay, you're feeling energy right now. This is what the feeling is. Everybody has different kinds of how to feel the energy. That's the feeling that you get. The more you connect, like you do Qigong, Tai Chi, martial arts, any movement that connects with energy, that's how you're going to start feeling. The more you train, the more you trust that what you're feeling is energy and not just the skin. You trust yourself. And then you can use that. So now the Reikis, what they do, they grab the energy, the pure vibrations of the universe, the trees, nature, grounding with the earth. Those are pure energy. There is no disconnection. As human beings, we have the mind that disconnects us to our intuition. The higher mind is our clarity, our intuition. Every time we have a thought of judgment, we disconnect with the energy. So we cannot.
Thoughts.
I don't like that term.
What do you mean?
It's lower density, slower vibrations.
So which thought?
If you have
thinking about my kids, picking them up on time, and I'm stressed out.
The beauty is to be able to connect while living a human life. So of course you're going to think about your kids. If I want to connect with my energy and I feel the heat in my hands right now, and I'm saying, oh, that's the sun. The more you practice, the more you can feel it, and the more you feel that it comes, that is this true, not just an invention of Pascal saying that to you, and then you have to feel it. So when you feel, and then eventually...
But I have gravitation.
Gravity is a friend.
A lot of scientists, it's physically you feel because it's you pushing. So people always try. A lot of people who don't believe in Reiki and energy.
Okay.
People would say it's a science.
Everything is science. Energy is science. Is that quantum scientist?
So when they hear this, they don't like this.
But I agree with you. I don't like being a healer. People say you're a healer. I said no. First of all, because a healer is like some sort of magic. In history, you have the witches of the tribe, you have the healers, and people come. It wants to listen to us.
It's checking it out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a healer is not a good way to talk about someone. I don't like being called a healer. First of all, if I knew how to heal everyone and everybody, this is a big issue because for me, it's ethics and integrity. Because when someone is ill or feels ill or has a disease or needs help or anything like this, do it. What you want is give them the power to feel that they are not ill. Not, okay, I'm going to cure you. I'm a healer. I'm going to do this on you and you're going to be okay. There's nothing like this. It's a human. You have to be humble when you do this.
I want to ask a question.
Sure.
So you saying, so somebody who doesn't believe in these things will say, what is it? What she's gonna do? How do I explain in that?
Okay.
What do you do?
So you know that we're made of atoms, and all of those are made of energy. It's proven by science. You can look at it.
More scientific, believing in math and science.
I'm a very scientific person. I went to medical school.
How can I explain that Pascale can put her hands on you and it can change your...
What I can do too. I can teach. We are all able, because we are made of energy.
So I can heal myself.
Best healer for someone is yourself. You're the best healer for yourself.
So I can start feeling the energy and put that energy.
You have to choose your modality. So we were talking about someone who's very scientific and only believes what he sees. In terms of science, of course, we know about the atoms, the quantum physics. We can research it. We know that we are all made of energy, and that energy cannot be created. It can only transform, right?
Create energy.
I think it's a physics thing. It's like energy cannot be created. It can only be transformed. Meaning that energy exists.
When I make fire, I'm not creating energy?
You're not creating energy. Energy is there. It's transforming into a fire. What are you doing to the fire? What are you using?
So I take two rocks and I do
the thing. You're taking the energy of one rock, the energy of another rock. Then you put it together, and that transforms the atoms. Everything is made of energy. It's already there. So now we can go to the Big Bang, realize that is there a God, not a God, and who created the earth before the chicken, before the egg, or whatever it is. It's a philosophical conversation. But the scientists know that everything is made out of energy. They create lasers. They just gather the energy to create a stronger energy force, like the nuclear reaction. They put elements together in order to create a bigger energy force. But that energy cannot be stopped. And that's why the nuclear reaction, all those toxin and everything, you cannot stop it once it's in there. That's why they keep the nuclear reactors underwater or whatever. We is also made out of energy, right? How the system works for human body, it's also the philosophical thing. Where do we come from? How does a heart work by itself? How is it automated like this?
It's like electrons,
it's all made out of
electromagnetic fields.
Exactly. But what is it? Energy, the X-rays, the electromagnetic fields. Everything is energy, different kind of vibrational frequencies of energy. But even this, it's made of plastic that is made of atoms that are stuck together, and it creates a dense platform. And when you sit on the chair, the energy of your butt sticking it's like Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi travels. How do you talk to someone without the wire when you're in China, or you talk to someone in the US? How does it work?
That's a voodoo thing.
Exactly. That's
magic.
That's science. The more we understand that everything is made out of energy, the more people are creating tools to heal. Today I saw someone created a pen you put on your body, and it gives some sort of energetical vibration to heal your joint or anything. So how does that work?
My mom's husband died from cancer right now, so we talked about it a lot. I start seeing a lot of, Instagram picks up, it sends you like all different stuff. And I always open my feed and there's a lot of things with cancer. And I know you had a big journey on that, and I would want to go deep into this. Now I open it and there's a new research that there's a water tank that puts sounds on the body of the person.
And I saw this. It's amazing.
And it changes your, like you're saying, the vibration.
For sure.
And it heals the cancer.
Yeah. Because our cells are made of energy. And everyone is talking like right now about vibrational sounds, like the frequencies. And the frequencies is the vibration like speed.
He's talking.
Vibration speeds. So that's what it is. A certain megahertz heals the DNA, the other one calms you down. I know that personally. If I listen to 528 megahertz, puts me in a state of calmness, of relaxation.
28?
5 to 8. I tried all the sounds, and that's the one that relates to me. But I don't know what it does. But
You think it's the red?
They
chat in here.
I love it.
Like a conversation here. They also have their own podcast.
Anyway, so your husband, you tell him that. Then you tell him, okay, you know the research, you know all of this. Then you say to him, why don't you try it on yourself?
Let's not use my husband because what if he listens?
Okay, so
you're talking about me.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Let's say someone who doesn't believe in it, which I understand because I'm very skeptical about everything. So I get that you need to really understand, but the best way to understand it, beyond reading the books, beyond being a scientist, beyond all of this,
I wish
experience.
there's like a book that's scientifically proven that person can deliver this amount of energy and then it transforms to another person.
But there are a lot of places you can find this.
But they all not scientific. It's like a theory. It's not like exactly like...
It's no longer a theory. It was a theory a few years ago. It's no longer a theory. There has been scientific experiments.
Yeah.
Recently, I read a research about scientists took people's DNA in a research lab. All those people whose DNA was taken in a room and put the DNA next door.
I didn't understand.
Okay, so you can extract DNA, right? You can extract blood from people and you can, you know how to get DNA.
I can get DNA from any tissues.
Any tissue, exactly. So the DNA, like it's your genetic
formula.
So they take people like you and me, they take our DNA, put it in the lab, and put us in another room. In the other room, we see movies, we're confronted to horrors, we're confronted to fears, to laughter. We're confronted to emotion, you know, affecting our energy. The experiment was that when they did this to those people, then they measure the reaction on the DNA. Every time people had vibrational reaction, physical vibrational, their DNA was affected next door. They moved the DNA much further away, the DNA was affected much further away. That's something that someone can read about. This kind of experiment that it's not explicable because if
but
you
do you believe it?
Yes, I believe, because I believe that energy moves and travels. It's not just a static thing. It's like Wi-Fi. How do you believe in Wi-Fi? How do you know that you can connect to a tower that emits something that allows you to talk to someone who is far away or you're not connected to a plug? How do you think that works? Through vibrations of energy.
Yeah.
So, yes. Now, they do experiments about this all the time. They've done experiments on people doing Reiki and how it affects well-being and how it affects. They did experiments on breathing exercise, how it affects your cells. So all of this is energy. And the only way to understand it is experience it yourself, to believe it, unless Einstein invented that. He talked about it.
Yeah.
He believed in it, and he's one of the biggest scientists. So this exists. Now, how does it affect you? How do you experience it so you believe it? It's you have to practice. You have to desire to feel it. You have to have the desire to try it. And that's how you know. You try it out. And then you'll see that you know. It's like your mother or if someone is a father and the kid is unhappy somewhere else and you feel it. Telepathically, you feel your kid is unhappy.
So tell me now about your experience when you really think it's worked for you and when it's really healed you. And maybe you want to say about your journey with the cancers, you're a cancer survivor, and if you want to share or not, it's up to you.
I don't mind sharing. My life isn't, I'm very
So
transparent.
does it feel alive?
It's the cancer. The cancer, yes, I had cancer and I know why I had cancer. I realized later why it happened to me,
But
imbalance in my
how can
cells.
you know exactly why? The scientists don't know why. There's the kids who born and they have cancer.
Because it's an imbalance of the cells, but I know how I started and I know how I ended
You mean
up
your
having
journey?
cancer. Journey, I'm talking about me, not other people. I don't know about other people.
We need to understand, how can you feel you get a cancer?
For me, I was raised very fairly healthy, organic food, no medication, south of France and the sea, where everything is far, always eating from the farms. I have parents that never went to restaurants. They rather cook at home, not because they didn't like to go out, but because they liked the food they made rather than having other. So I was raised in a healthy environment. I have two sisters about my age
And
that
no
are
history
super
of
healthy.
cancer.
No history of cancer. But my life journey, at some point in my life journey, there was so much, and it's more than stress. So many challenges that I did not know how to handle. So instead of handling it the way that I would know now, I handled it the wrong way. And because it accumulated
Well, how
over
do you mean
years.
You didn't know? You mean like you just...
Because I had a long journey. It's a journey of violence, of psychological abuse. I had a lot of abuse. I had children. I was in another country. I had many challenges. I was arrested for kidnapping my children, for example, and I was very young.
How old are you?
I was 34. Then it started a journey where I had to protect myself physically and my children, and then through the court system.
So what's been happening in your life?
With my ex-husband, there were problems. I don't want to talk about this.
So
right
34,
here.
you had a problem with your husband.
I was 34, and my life unraveled completely. I was a happy married woman, but unraveled because of my husband. And then we became a journey where I was not prepared because I was very
You guys
sheltered.
been going through divorce?
It's like having a lot of issues. I found myself on the street. I basically found myself from being a happy mother to living on the street, losing everything I own materially, fearing for my life and for my kids' life, engaged in the justice system, which is completely crazy and unfair.
Here in the US?
In the US. And that accumulation of stresses that are life-changing, life-threatening stresses, not just, okay, I have to wake up early, go to work, I'm stressed. That doesn't matter. It's the accumulation over the years of too much. Having to handle too much all the time without stopping and with some sort of a fear, 100% fear.
Fear for your life and for your kids, you said.
Fear for, yes, definitely, especially fear for my kids, because if it's just me alone, I'm not afraid. If it's for my kids, yes. So that thing I did not know how to handle right.
And what about your family? You're not there?
I'm very independent. I've always been the independent, strong one. So I don't think they understood. Because I was always the one helping. I was always the wiser person in some ways. So I don't think they understood what it took of me to get out of that situation.
Do you think they just like thought she's exaggerating?
No, it was so intense for everybody. It was a very difficult situation. Maybe one day I'll write a book about it. It was a difficult situation that it's intense, even for the people who love you around you.
Yeah.
If there is action you can take to solve, there was nothing we could do, and I did not know how to handle it right. So eventually the accumulation of this plus for years created an imbalance in my body. And also because of this situation, my hormonal system went out of whack. I created too much testosterone. So I created so much to defend myself, to survive, to feed my kids. What happened is that they gave me 1 year to live. I was 39 when I was diagnosed. My problem started when I was 30 years old.
So you had that major life-changing, threatening situation. How long after? Or is
10
it
years.
happened straight away?
No, I started understanding that nothing was right at 30 years old. At 34 is when I left my husband. So from 30 to 34, I was in a state of extreme
stress.
I was unsettled.
Yeah.
And then from 34 to 38 is when I went through all this court system and having to survive emotionally, physically, mentally, and protect my children from all of this.
Yeah.
And then when I started to relax.
So at 39, you found out.
And then when I started to relax, I found out at 39, I knew already a year before that something was wrong. I knew it. I felt it. No one believed me, but I knew it. And so I went to many doctors. Please do this. Please do a biopsy. They thought I was crazy. They ended up doing a biopsy. I had metastatic breast cancer. And so I went through all the traditional chemotherapy, but I also went to see phytotherapists, healers. I did it all, meditation in the US, but my phytotherapist was in France. Like, he's a famous guy that wrote books about modern phytotherapy. So you used to travel
to get treatment?
I went once to see him because he gave me like all kinds of herbs. And
how did you find out about him?
My girlfriend in New York had major cancer when she was 38. And she told me that he helped her. So I went. So that's how I went. And actually, this guy at the time was advanced for his time. He was doing special tests. And he told me I had too much testosterone because of my life situation.
Tested you and
I don't know what he tested. At the time, it was completely untraditional. Now it might be different, like a functional doctor type of thing. But at the time, it was weird. He had ratios. He would look into my eyes. It would make me walk straight or not straight to figure out. His name is Jean-Claude Lapraz. Yeah, he's well known. He's the modern Jean-Claude Lapraz. Is the father of modern phytotherapy. And he's been helping all around the world in cancer center for people to support cancer therapies, which at the time when I did it was like major chemotherapy. So he tested me for some things. And at the end, he told me, you had cancer because of your life situation. You created too much testosterone. You had to survive because I became a single woman, a single mother. So I had to do it all by myself. Plus going to court every week, plus making money. All of this made me not a woman. That's why when I say I'm a woman, that's how I feel. And I always felt this role was not appropriate for my body. And my testosterone went up. So then the estrogen levels, they wanted to catch up because all of a sudden there's some imbalance in my body. It went like this for years until my cells decided, okay, that's it. And then we are fully imbalanced and we're going to develop cancer.
Well, that type of doctors, I don't think they're even catching up here yet.
Really? It was many years ago. This guy is amazing. And
like you say, there's a doctor that tells you to walk.
It was very strange.
I never heard that in my life.
It's called endobiogeny, I think. He measured ratios.
Because my mom in UK and they have like the best hospitals, the best everything. It's just not there.
Because you have to, yes, it was not in a hospital. My girlfriend recommended me to him. So
you should always look into something alternative.
I believe because I had chemotherapy, which damaged a lot of like the ones who kills your muscles and everything. And look at me now. I didn't lose my teeth. I could be more damaged physically than I am now, because when they give you those treatments back then, they didn't have anything that helps you with alternative therapies. Too strong for a human body, like chemotherapy, for example. Then you need to really rebalance it with any other things that you feel is going to be right for you, and you need to research it.
So what did you do? You diagnosed one?
I was diagnosed at the time. They told me later, but I looked. I had a 5% chance of making it in 5 years, basically, and I got. So I was like single mom, and I was crying, and my father told me, and he's the surgeon, he's the doctor. He said the human body. And he's a very traditional doctor. He doesn't believe in, like, in a way, he's very scientific.
Doesn't believe in Reiki.
He does, but he won't say it. He's a very scientific guy, but he told me, you do not know the human body. He said to me, I've had people that we think they're going to survive, they died the next week. People that are terminal, they're still alive now, 40 years later. He said, he said, the human body you cannot measure, predict. So that tells you. And he's also said to me, there are statistics, but statistics, don't look at statistics, because they are only probabilities. They are not certainties for you. So I closed the computer, I closed everything, and I never looked back. Every medication they gave me, everything, I never looked at side effects. I never looked back. I trusted what they did for me, and I did it all. And I balanced.
Why you didn't do? A lot of people do it now, research before they listen in doctors.
I'm lucky. My father's a doctor, so I trusted him.
You went to medical school. I guess you already kind of.
I trusted him to do what's right for me.
Wait, your father was giving you the treatments and things.
So, no, I didn't, but he was, I had a question, I could call him. And I was very lucky because my oncologist in New York was accepting everything that I was taking. I took a lot of alternative things, vitamins, herbs. I don't even know what they are anymore. All kinds of things to meditate. I did meditation every single day, healing meditation, where you feel that you have a green healing light going through your body, feeling the blockages in your body, clearing the blockage. I don't know what helped. I don't know what healed me. Certainly not chemotherapy, because after 2 years of chemotherapy, I still had major cancer. I don't know. It's a combination of all of it, and also knowing that I will not die from this.
Strong mind.
It's not strong mind, it's knowing, because that journey, what happened during that journey is when I felt the universe the most, is when I connected the most to every single mystery of the universe. And it sounds like esoteric and crazy, but it's the truth. It's where I connected with spirits, it's where I connected with every single vibrations that were around me because of the urgency. And the more I was doing meditation every day, I went into my treatment, the more calm I was, the more everybody was crazy around me and crying. I knew, I was certain that it will not affect me. I had dreams. I had vivid dreams all the time. I had dreams where I had messages. And that's how you connect when you have your dreams, because when you connect, you receive the messages. And this is the period in my life where I had the most connection, spiritual connection. And that's when I understood. And that's where I got my living experience between my divorce and this. That was my super living experience. You know, how do you get experience 101, and how do you feel? How do you trust?
That's a crazy journey.
It's a journey. I don't want it anymore.
What did you do once you were diagnosed? You started taking a lot of supplements.
I was given supplements that were created by a doctor, Dr. Beljanski.
Yeah.
Dr. Beljanski was a researcher on RNA and DNA, right hand of Dr. Monod, who had a Nobel Prize on DNA research. And in the 80s, when AIDS came into our world, they started developing those drugs to help boost and they were not drugs, they were herbs, to help boost the immune system of AIDS patients because their immune system would go down. And then as they're doing this research, this Dr. Beljanski, he realized that the AIDS patients kept their immune system to like the good level, so it would not deplete completely and kill all the cells. And then they did it on cancer patients, and they found out that it helps cancer patients. Out of randomness, my sister was working for them in New York, not at all as a scientist or anything. She had moved to the US, she worked for them, and she got all the testimonies all the time. She received testimonies from people saying, I took and I healed, and I took and I healed, and I took and I healed. So when I was diagnosed, she said, I'm buying it for you, you take it. So I took it. Dr. Beljanski was a researcher on RNA and DNA, right hand of Dr. Monod, who had a Nobel Prize on DNA research. Mm-hmm. In the 80s, when AIDS came into our world, they started developing those drugs to help boost the immune system of AIDS patients because their immune system would go down. And then as they're doing this research, this Dr. Beljanski realized that the AIDS patients kept their immune system to the good level, so it would not deplete completely and kill all the cells. And then they did it on cancer patients and found out that it helps cancer patients. So they started writing.
How did you meet that doctor?
My sister was working for them in New York. She had moved to the US and received testimonies from people saying, I took and I healed, and I took and I healed. When I was diagnosed, she said, I'm buying it for you, you take it. So I took it.
Like what type of
It
stuff?
was like herbs from Amazon. It's called raw.
This company still exists?
Company still exists.
Are you taking it? Or
No,
you
I don't
stopped?
take it anymore. You have to take it with the supervision of a doctor. So I took it at the beginning. I had a doctor called me and I told them what
So it's
kind
very
of cancer.
strong.
It's very strong. Then I gave it to my oncologist and I gave him all the chemical thing and he approved it. He said, if you want to take it, it's fine. When I went to Paris to meet Jean-Claude Lapraz, this part was actually in his protocol already. It was 25 years ago, but after that they had Columbia University doing research on it. Cancer Center in Israel is doing research on it. Drugs from Amazonia, like medicine, like nature medicine.
Can I try it?
Yeah, and so you can buy it as a vitamin. The way you buy it is like you take 2 or 3 a day. Sometimes I would take 20 of those pills. Sometimes I couldn't take the pills because I was doing radiation. It would interfere with my radiation. That doctor gave me all kinds of herbs. I bought teas. I don't remember what they were.
They have oils and there's
I would put drops in my mouth, little pills.
I want to order this because for my mom's husband.
That's what I told you to order. Remember, natural source. And everyone that does good, I recommend them Dr. Jean-Claude Lapraz or the system that he does, which is also in the US, endobiogeny, I recommend. It's a journey. Life is a journey. You can never be connected all the time because the more you practice, the more you know, the more you're connected. You cannot connect if you stop practicing, meaning if you stop feeling, if you stop meditating or anything that makes you feel. For me, I can walk, I'm in my garden and I feel connection with the trees, connection with the plants, connection with the sea, it's a sky or the sea in Miami. That's a meditation. You don't need to really sit and wait until it happens.
What do you think? Because the farmers, all different lifestyles that people used to live outside and spending a lot of time with nature and walking without shoes. Maybe we don't really need to just sit in your room and breathe.
But sitting in the room and breathe is a technique that is proven. There are many other techniques. It's how you connect that counts. For example,
just go for a run outside, look at the water, jump in the ocean, touch the tree.
As long as you feel the connection, as long as your experience is your truth.
But connection with the energy, the one that I feel in my hands?
That you feel. So once the more you do this, and the more you do, and that's breathing exercise, because breathing with your body.
What are you supposed to feel?
It's your own experience, and you will know it.
No, but what is the kind of sensation?
It's a sensation of grounding, and you're safe. It's a safe sensation. It's like you sit or walk, and you know, it's, for me, it's as if I'm protected with some sort of energy bubble. It's not even a vision. It comes to you, and all of a sudden, everything stops in a way. There's no before, after, ugly, not ugly, fat, not fat, or whatever it is that is in your brain at this time. Everything stops, and you feel the connection. You feel who you are in this universe.
People always saying connection. That's really hard to understand.
I know, it's hard.
Let's connect to the world.
Okay, so let's assume you take a breather in and the breather out. You feel the pose. That's your connection. Because when you brain, you do all of this so that you'll stop the chatter of the brain, the stupid stuff. What am I going to eat tonight? What am I going to wear? Am I doing it right? Am I pretty enough? Whatever it is that is in your brain stops once you do those exercises. Once that stops, and you go in stillness or in connection with nature, then you have your vision, your clarity. And when you know it's true, it's no longer part of the chatter.
Dopamine.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's like when you get ayahuasca, people do this in order to open the brain and have immediate clarity.
Doesn't it, dopamine give you like satisfaction kind of a thing?
It's a whole different kinds of hormonal.
Hormones.
It's not just dopamine, it's everything together. If you take drugs that are opening up, or at the time they had in the 50s,
microdosing,
LSD,
smoking,
acid, I would not say smoking weed, but more chemically, products that chemically opens up your higher mind. People say they have vision.
We're using this wording that I think for some people they don't understand what does it mean.
I get it.
I had this here.
I suggest for those people who don't understand it to do breathing exercises. Go online, find a breathwork specialist, someone who doesn't.
How about we're talking about simple life people who just focusing on
a simple? You're going to find that simple. Let Dan Bretner, the Blue Zone guy, for example.
If I go and start some driver, Uber driver, I'm talking about people who they don't really go to yoga studios. They don't have time for this. Maybe there's a way.
The way is to trust. The happy people in the world, the happiest and the ones who live the longest in the world, they have commonalities. They believe, they have faith, they trust in God, they trust in this. They
so
trust
yeah,
in
you to synagogue.
They live
so
in
that's
nature.
The meditation too, connecting.
Of course, because what you do is pray. Like whenever you pray, it's your intention. Whenever you do anything that is connecting with something more, other dimension of who you are, of life, yes, you believe. Those people, they live in nature. They grow their own vegetable. Not because it's organic they live longer. It's also because when you connect, like people now, they make you walk barefoot. But it's true, because you connect with the earth. Those people who live in nature, who believe, don't disconnect themselves because they trust, and maybe they don't question.
They don't question. Sometimes I feel like they just don't question.
Which is beauty. When you don't question, it's when you can feel more. That's when your brain is telling you, yes, this is what it is. Life is it. Life is
so questioning, it's disconnecting?
When you're in your brain, yes.
Yeah.
You disconnect because...
It's so interesting because I grew up in Russia, and I had a neighbor in my country house that we go and spend the whole summers while I was a kid. And she was a farmer. So she has a goat, even though her family were very wealthy and they had a beautiful house, she would say no to everything. She didn't wear shoes. She was Christian. She had all like a religious thing on her walls. So she would be barefoot Even though the house next door had everything, she would take us to walk the goats outside in barefoot, walking on where the cars are. And I was always looking at her like she's completely insane. She would kill the chickens when you need. She will kill the goats, take the skin out of them. And then she's like this little tiny grandma. And she would do all like physical work. She had a whole like farming situation. That's how she knew it. And I felt like she's so happy because she never questions things. She just does things by the order, and that's it. I feel like she was maybe like a guru or something. And I always wondering to ask her, but how does she feel? And there was no question. For her, it was just wake up at 5 in the morning, pray, do all these things with goats and milking them and she would never take money from her family. Whatever she could make from selling the milk, whatever money she had, she would buy a bread. She would be hungry but not take from. It was incredible. That was like
because
insane.
It's a different generation too.
Yeah.
The less you question,
yeah.
There's a saying that the simpler you are.
She never had a TV, and they had old TVs in the house.
For sure, damaging. The news is damaging. Everything.
I don't know what she would do at home when it's winter.
She can read books.
In the summer, she would prepare herself for the winter. She would kill all the animals, so she has frozen meat, and then she has a fair.
But it's another generation.
I cannot believe
That's
I saw
how my grandparents lived. You're the younger generation, which you bombarded. You were raised with bombardment of information, of having to be, of having to produce, of having, especially, women of that woman's generation, they didn't have to be working mothers or producing.
And she was so busy.
Of course, when you have to live off the land, you're busy from morning.
But she had everything she wanted.
She made her happy. That's what fulfilled her.
But she lived until like 80s, like. Yeah. She probably died in her 85 or something like that.
She was happy. Yeah. If she could have had another life and she chose that life.
I know. I guess there was her kids who had everything. I remember her being like a little grandma who does all these things. It's unrealistic because I had a TV, I had a computer, we had everything already, and I'm looking at her like she's insane, this person.
Yeah, it's how you want to live your life. You can detach. If you live your life in detachment, like the monks, for example, they detach completely, it's much easier to connect. It's much easier because there's nothing else you do. If you're surrounded with people praying or all day long, of course you're going to connect faster.
I want to ask you something. For example, some people just don't need to connect because they're happy, like you said. Your daughter maybe.
But they're already connected. They already know their place in the world. And when you have people that are very successful in the world, that are business people, but they are happy.
But I know a lot of people who are successful in making empires. I had a friend who was very successful living, but he had toxic life because of the meetings, there's drinking, there's this, there's traveling.
Once you get an addiction, once you drink, there's a problem. The addiction shows there's a problem.
Because of his lifestyle of being in this kind of toxic environments, but successful and a lot of money and a lot of access to things, he had a major crash, and I think his head was open, something like really, really bad, like threatening, like he was supposed to die, but he survived. And it's completely changed him, like physically. He just stopped to everything, to his career, to everything. He took a stop, he took completely break from everything, and he moved to Cambodia, and he started from zero. I mean, he had money, obviously. I don't think if he didn't have money he would do it, but he had money, and with this, like, just move there and completely start doing all this connection, because I think that's what he was missing. If we're not connected, it can turn you, but I don't even know if it's true.
But also, when you're a person that is raised in a decent family, that has decent background, and there's no violence, you don't know how precious life is, right? And if your friend
taking for granted?
Take for granted. Your friend took it for granted, but he was smart enough to stop all of it. Some people are not smart enough to do it. This guy must be super smart, because success is not measured in money. And that's the problem. And that's why there's so much disconnection, because most people now, and you see it with the internet, Instagram, is how many followers, how much money I have. So how do you measure yourself? Because there is maybe the 1% or 10% of the population living this life, showing you this life. And then there's the other population as well, more or less, of course, depending on the country, depending who you are. So how do you feel happy knowing that you can have this? And then this feels like, okay, I have all of this, but this is not what success is. What success is happiness, is real happiness. What is success? You can be very rich and very happy.
That's why we need you. People will search for you, for somebody who can...
I can help.
You can help take you out of that environment.
Take out, because if you're successful in business, it's good to be successful.
But like you're saying, you suddenly feel...
But getting your priorities straight, because when you're imbalanced, the most successful people I've met, the ones who make the money easily, are the happiest and the humblest. I've met many success, what do you call success now? Making a lot of money, having a nice family, having all of this, comes in a way that is natural to them. I worked as a CFO, so I was the second hand of very successful CEOs. I observed and I understood how their happiness never depended on the money, but because of the passion they had on what they were doing, brought money to them. Because of their certainty that they were supposed to be doing what they were doing. And it's not the end to all, is like doing what you love and the money comes. Those people are happy. And they are connected and they know it.
Reiki would help you be successful.
Reiki?
And yoga.
All about your intent and what you want in life. People want money, people want love.
We decided success is not just money, obviously, it's also happiness.
Reiki helps you balance your energy fields and helps you empty your mind.
I did the yoga teacher training, I did a lot of connection, and I know exactly how it feels. I tried all these fields. I feel like a lot of people sometimes don't have time for that. I'm really grateful for this. I completely agree that it's life-changing and helping you with a lot of things. And I wanted to talk for the people who has no time for this. They don't really believe in that much. Finding it only when something happens.
Yes, the new generations, they are a little bit smarter. So what I suggest to someone who has no time, who is working 24/7, has a family, whatever it is, just start by doing breathing exercises, 30 seconds. 1 minute.
So in these terms, I wanted us to move to your studio so you can show us a little bit exercise.
I can show you, depending on your level. But if you start at the beginning, when you don't know how to breathe, you start to breathe. And you can read those books about how beneficial it is for the scientists, how beneficial it is for your body and your mind, the breathing. So once you start the breathing, I'm finishing up and then I can show you. So if you start a minute a day or 30 seconds a day doing the breathing.
When do you do it?
You want. There's no rule. There's no rule. So people say you wake up before everybody else because the world is pure. But if you don't have time, it's always good to do it whenever it feels right for you.
When are you do it?
I do it depending on the day, depending on the time of day.
So you in the morning?
I don't have a set days. The days I can do early morning. I always woke up very early morning all my life, like 6 a.m. and go. I like to be outdoors at early morning. I know people, they can't
No,
wake
I
up
want to
in the
know your
morning.
routine so we see.
Oh, my routine, I wake up at 6:30
Yeah.
in the morning, and either I go to the gym. I always have breakfast before I do anything.
With fasting, 16 hours, don't eat, and I'm starving to death.
I don't fast. I did the fasting a few times. I don't fast.
So you go to gym
when 7:15 in the morning.
So you think physical is still important?
It's very important to keep your muscles, bones
healthy.
healthy.
It's not enough just to do yoga.
It depends on the age. The older you get, the more your body decays. So in order to keep yourself healthy is the breathing exercise And the muscles for not decaying is to use the muscles. That's basically what it is. It's just to be able to sustain physically in order to be able to live long.
Do you do intense training?
I used to when I was younger. I did all the trainings that you can, I tried all of them. And when I do too intense, and I'm talking when I was a younger woman, not now, because now obviously it's a different story, but all my life.
I start hearing a lot that, like you said, when you age, like after 40s, you need to start lifting heavy weights. It's almost like a trend that the women have to go and...
I don't believe that. It depends why you do the exercise. I go to a gym where everybody is super fit, but why do they do it? The more you do it, the more it gives you those endorphins. It's like hot yoga when you go.
Your dopamines.
The dopamines and all of this. It's like an addiction in some ways for some people. Some other people, it's to look pretty and to have muscle definition or to be bulked or to be, you know, it depends the intention that you put behind going to the gym. I don't know about it. I'm not, like, there are trends. I've lived through all the trends of, you know, pineapple diet and the fasting and the lifting of the weights and only yoga and only breathing. I've gone through all the trends. It depends what works for you. I know that for me,